So welcome everybody. It's again LinkedIn Lifetime from Dean 42. I'm Fabian 𝐁𝐮𝐬𝐢𝐧𝐞𝐬𝐬. I'm co-hosting this stream, this series of streams with my colleagues Carsten and Jean. And today we have a very interesting topic, very interesting guest. It's about business intelligence, unleashing the power of business intelligence and data-based decision-making. So very eager to know what the current status in the industry is and what tools there are to support. And yeah, for that, Melanie is here. And yeah, she's from 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬, founder and co-CEO for 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬. And she knows a lot about business intelligence and also has a tool that supports this product. So Melanie, maybe just head over to you and you quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you that I can be here so that we have this time to talk about this very interesting topic. Yes, I'm Melanie Langermeier. As Fabian already told, I'm the co-founder of 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬. 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬 is a young company, and before 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬, I've worked at the University of Augsburg in the area of enterprise architecture management. And I had a strong focus on the analysis of enterprise architecture models, so to get benefit out of the data that all the people has collected about applications, about information systems, and so on. So to really bring value out of these models. And yes, before that, I studied at the University of Augsburg and in Munich, software engineering. And yes, during my PhD, more or less, we explored that there might be some topics that are just more interesting, not only for university, also for organization. And that's the reason why 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬 exists. And yes, at 𝐶𝐞𝐬𝐬, I'm now responsible for the product management part. I'm talking a lot with customers, with potential customers, gathering requirements, looking at the market, and seeking for new technologies and use cases, finding pains of the users where we can support them.
So yeah,
some short words
thanks for the quick
about
introduction. Business intelligence and database decision making. What was your first time when you came across this topic? Was it back at the university, I think?
Yeah, so it was really during some research project at university. So I was in the area of enterprise architecture models, and we made some what if then analytics, more or less. So what happens if we want to change some business processes, what IT is affected by this, or if we have some failure within the IT, what business processes are affected by it. So to just get the kind of impact impressions across your organization. And when we run these analytics with organization and we showed them finally the results, they told you, oh, that's a very interesting result, but more or less the state we had 2 years before. And we had a merger and acquisition in between. So a complete part is missing in your analytics. So just we come to the end that yes, an analysis or the result of an analysis is only just as good as the data you put into it. And that's an interesting thing where we say, okay, when looking at the business side, there were a lot of interesting things going on because they're just analyzing all the business data about their users, about their business processes to gain insights, to see where are weaknesses, where are opportunities where we can improve them. But when we are looking to the IT side, yes, there is a lot of data still there. And that's what we want to use to improve. If we just make these kind of impact analytics, we don't say, okay, that's not the state from 2 years before, that's where we are today. And that was the dependency where we first come in contact with business intelligence and where we just tested it out. What happened if you just apply concepts of business intelligence, of process mining to the area of IT?
Okay, so yeah, I think this is also something we often encounter when we work as CIO advisors or enterprise architects with clients. that you need up-to-date data, especially about your IT landscape and the interdependencies and connections to other parts of the company. You already mentioned that, processes, business units, things like that. In current times, often business capabilities, something maybe rather new for some companies, but a lot of companies already think about business capabilities. And this all needs to be figured out. And as you said, data needs to be up to date. So this is an important factor. Yeah, quick side note to all our viewers who see us online, you can ask questions in the stream in LinkedIn Live, and we'll answer them at the end. If you see this via one of our platforms afterwards, yeah, you need to drop us an email, and I think for sure we will answer you anyway. Okay, so data needs to be up to date. Enterprise architecture needs updated actual current data to work and to support decisions. So now, Melanie, business intelligence comes in. This is something, yeah, where you worked on during university, and then also after university when you founded 𝐞𝐬𝐬. So what exactly is it? What is it? What you do or what your product does to help support EA with up-to-date data?
Yeah. So what we from the ideas from business intelligence, we try to bring to the IT that we just say we use the operational data that is collected by monitoring solutions, by infrastructure solutions, and a lot of other IT tools that are already in use in an organization. They just produce a lot of data. And that's the data that really realizes the real world of the IT landscape. And we use these operational data to reconstruct the architecture model, to just say, okay, if there is some application running, we can probably monitor communication dependencies we want to extract automatically. What is there, how it is dependent to each other, and use mechanisms using name conventions, tags to just auto-annotate all these IT assets, IT elements to business relevant information. So we sometimes call it also architecture mining as a technology. Yeah, so if you're just thinking about process mining, who does this for business processes, we want to do it for enterprise architecture models, just using this operational data to reconstruct the models and to bridge the gap between the operational world that changes every day and the architecture world that is really important for all strategic planning purposes you have in your organization.
Okay, so this reconstructing the architecture really seems quite interesting for me. I've already heard about this, and also architecture mining, quite a cool phrase, I would say. And so how flexible is this approach? I think a lot of companies have a lot of some things in common. HR department communicating over there with other departments, and a sales department communicating with product department, and so on. But each company is individual. So how flexible is this approach for architecture reconstruction or architecture mining?
Yes. So the basis you need for these kind of processes that you need some kind of structural data about your IT landscape. So until now, I don't know any tool that is capable of just extracting information from PowerPoint or Visio diagrams. Probably that might be easier as PowerPoint, but you need some kind of structural information you can use for this process. And then it's important to use, yes, all these concepts from the business intelligence market, like ETL pipelines, to collect your data and then the second step to homogenize it. So you have some initial steps to be done to get the data together because it's heterogeneous, but this is a one-time effort and then it runs. And you don't have to do it every month to update it. But this approach is quite flexible because every organization has a different kind of data and you just need some kind of transformations. But the most organizations, they have in common, they have some IT department down there where running servers with infrastructure, with applications on it. And finally, they want to map it to some business processes. So this basis foundation is very common. And then the concrete elements for each organization, they depend on the tools they have in use. Probably we have some process modeling tools where you can extract data from. You will have some cloud providers you can extract data from. So it's really dependent on each organization. Also the picture you get finally.
Okay, so when it comes to the architecture mining, there's, as far as I understand, a good flexibility, not only on the functional and the business side, but also the technical side, of course. You need to have some kind of adapters and gather the data, and there's some kind of initial work you need to do, some kind of initial setup, but then it runs automatically. And this is, of course, one of the major advantages to have there. Say, okay, after initial setup, I have up-to-date data for my custom model, and it's always ready to be used for enterprise architecture and other disciplines near it. Yeah. Regarding maybe some, we already talked about automation, I think, and also something like having the data ready. Your tool, what is 𝐞𝐞𝐬𝐬? 𝐞𝐬𝐬, I think it's a product, and it provides all that, I think. And also, how does 𝐞𝐬𝐬 relate to other well-known EA tools on the market?
Yeah, so with 𝐞𝐬𝐬, we just provide this kind of data integration platform, which allows you to integrate data from a lot of different data sources. And that might be, for example, documentation which you already have in your existing enterprise architecture tools like 𝐿INAX, like louis, or other enterprise architecture tools. You can just get the data you manually documented there because you need information about processes, departments, and so on. And you can also connect to cloud providers like Azure or AWS so that you know what is running out there in the cloud. And then you are able to connect these different kinds of information. So you will see finally which department, for example, is running which services within the cloud. And you can also add connectors to your on-prem landscape to just get this also into 𝐞𝐬𝐬 as well. And thereby you can understand 𝐞𝐬𝐬 as a central data integration hub. So you can just get all the data into 𝐞𝐬𝐬, but you can also write it back, for example, to an enterprise architecture tool or to your configuration management database to keep the data there up to date as well. And yes,
sounds very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So up-to-date data, is a key aspect, and so it would be kind of maybe not replacing your existing EA tool, but feeding up-to-date data into your EA tool if you already have an EA tool. And after initial setup phase, this completely runs automatically and is adaptable to all models. This sounds really good. So back maybe a little bit to use cases. What use cases do your customers usually fulfill with 𝐞𝐬𝐬 or with the business intelligence in the IT?
So one aspect is they want to have this kind of bird's eye view of their IT landscape to really know.
Okay, so what transparency.
Yes. What is there? What do I have within my IT? Did I forgot something? Probably. And even if we are thinking about a lot of merger and acquisitions, or if you have a lot of subsidiaries somewhere over the world, you probably don't have the direct contact to the people there. So you only won't have one single documentation tool. Probably you're using one at your headquarters. There will be another tool in one subsidiary in the USA, for example. And with 𝐞𝐬𝐬, you can consolidate this data. You get to your bird's eye view. And this allows you in a lot of processes, to be more efficient. If you're thinking of big transformation processes, if you're having your cloud strategy, you want to shift everything in the cloud, then it might be really interesting to have a tool that just automatically knows how much is still running in my on-prem data centers all over the world and how much is already running in the cloud. And you don't want to do this report monthly by hand, you just want to get it automated. And this is, for example, what 𝐞𝐬𝐬 can to really track that transformation project, see your changes, and can react at the very first place if something goes not as intended. So this might be one use case for a tool like 𝐞𝐬𝐬, because it's not enough to just monitor your cloud, because you still need to know what's still running on-prem. Where do I have to do a lot of work? And of course, what comes as well, if you're then up in the cloud, at some point there will come up this big topic of costs, because they are getting higher and higher the more there is running in the cloud. And then the questions arises, how can we keep transparency about our costs? Where do we know which resource can be allocated to which product or to which department, so that not all the costs are running on the IT department, because that probably might be some business department, the originator of these kind of costs. And finally, we are also dealing with customers that want to use 𝐶𝐞 for auditing, reporting, or compliance use cases, to just be ready. If somebody is there who wants to see, oh, what do you have running in your environment, you can just report a list. Or if you have monthly internal reportings, that can be automated with a tool like 𝐶𝐞, to just keep you free from manual work, and so you can concentrate on the important things.
Yeah, I think especially the use case application rationalization with the background of costs, of course, is a quite important one. This is something we see, I would say, nearly with all of our clients when we are into enterprise architecture. So it's always about what's there, so transparency, and then how can we do it better, which means with providing the same services, providing better services, but maybe with less resources, as you mentioned, 2, 3, even 10 tools. I've seen, I've always seen that, of the same, fulfilling the same business capability, presence throughout the company in different branches, subsidiaries all over the world. And then, it's not then the idea of the enterprise architect to always say, okay, there's only one, but you have something where you know, okay, maybe I should look into it, and maybe if it's 10, then maybe we come out with 6, and then we follow here with 3, but 3 is really what we need. We don't need 10, but we stick with 3, and there's some rationalization ongoing. So this is something really we see, I think, all over our clients. So so business intelligence and database decision making. So with 𝐶𝐞, you can really always have up-to-date data within the tool or fed into other tools. So it's always up to date. Reports don't need to do some manual assessment again. See, okay, has the cloud migration, also a big topic. Has it progressed? How much has it progressed? Because it's always there live, and you can always act on the current data. And database decision making is an important thing, and the data needs to be up to date. So let's quickly have a look. Is there already some questions? So far, I don't see any. Feel free to ask any questions still. Melanie, maybe, where's the future going with business intelligence? What are next things coming up, maybe in a tool or generally, when you think about your domain?
Yeah, so I think it's just power to the data, to just enrich more and more data into these topics, to enhance the analytics components you have on this. If you have all the data available, you have so much possibilities to think about simulations which you can drive within your models. If you have real world data, if you have them over time, that's very interesting to just probably get some prognosis. Okay, so the last few years we saw this development, so how might it look like in 1 or 2 years? So a very quite interesting question. So if we are thinking of security, to just simulate, how would an attack look like? Is it possible that somebody will come to this door or to this door? So there might be a lot of interesting things you can do if you have these kind of models with a lot of data. But the first step is now to just get all the data together into one tool, and then we can continue with learning from this data. So I think there's a large research field regarding learning and artificial AI, to just make use of this data, probably to create benchmarks, to compare different models from different companies with each other, to say, okay, some other guys also had a similar problem and they had the solution and so on. So I guess there are a lot of interesting things we can work on in the next years. Just to help people to get, I think the most important thing is to get people the right data so they are able to make well-founded decisions where they can, yes, be sure, or they don't have to do it with a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. So that you mentioned AI, I think we should maybe as one of the last topics quickly look into it. Is it already very prominent, or is this something that will come up in the future? Think about simulating, architecture outcomes. Yeah, you change something, how it would behave, or you just mentioned when it comes to some kind of special use case like security, you have mined your architecture and then you kind of put an AI on it and say, okay, where might it be attacked? Is this something, which will be the near future? So, or is it more long-term upcoming?
I think there is still a little bit time to go, but because the first step is to just gather enough data for it.
Okay.
Because learning algorithms only work with sufficient data. So we have this data problem I also observed within my research studies beforehand. So because learning of bad data will not produce a good outcome. But then I guess a more important thing, and also a lot of other tools are working on, is that you can provide your questions you have on your IT landscape in a natural language way. So probably if you think before IT grew that much, we had one responsible head for the IT and we could ask him everything. It was the one IT guy and he had an answer to everything. And now you don't have this one guy, but probably with the use of architecture mining and artificial intelligence, we can build this guy again in a virtual way. So I guess that is a nice vision, and I guess it's not that far away that we come to this point.
Yeah, sounds good, and I think this is something we should look into, and this would also really help clients to answer their questions on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So quick look to our moderator. Still any questions? I'm not sure. Let's wait a little bit. I don't think so. So if you see this as a recording, feel free to ask your question just by email. And yeah, Melanie, I would say for today, that's more or less it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us. Maybe we see you in the upcoming webinar where we have a look deeply into the tool and then get to a little bit more about Kubernetes and how it actually works and how it looks like. For now, thanks for today. Thanks a lot. Business intelligence in future. Yeah, also AI supported architecture mining sounds very promising. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of things to work, interesting things to work on. And thank you very much.
So, thanks to all. Bye-bye.